Quick disclaimer. By no means am I a pro or top tier stats player. In fact, I suffer from a lot of the things I'm going to mention here today. However, I'm someone who has racked up quite a bit of time, amassed some knowledge, and for some reason feels the need to share it here with you all. Thank you for your understanding. This is a bit longer of a video, but I do appreciate your time greatly. This guide is meant to help people of all skill levels, from beginners just learning what it takes to veterans learning to break down what it is they need to improve upon. There's quite a lot that goes into being a good Siege player, but if I had to put it into basic categories, it would be from mechanical skill, to game sense, to mentality, health, analytical ability, IQ, EQ, and lastly your AQ. Yes, you can excel in one or many of these categories and be a decent player, but it's the cohesion of all these things that truly makes a Pangu or Shaiko. So, in no particular order, let's move on to the first thing. Your analytical ability is your ability to analyze things. Duh. Well, why is this useful? It's useful in so many ways. In analyzing a site to prep your defense, analyzing the enemy's strat to effectively counter it, analyze your every death, or even analyze your team's performance, etc. The reason why this one is useful is that it's what separates fast learners from the rest. When you analyze a situation, you start to see other outcomes or opportunities, and you realize where along the way you could have altered the chain events to make the outcome in your favor. Let me walk you through how I analyze some of my clips. I enter barrels on theme park behind Thatcher for the hard breach support. After placing my thermite charge, Thatcher is immediately picked off by Valk.
Outside, can I get him?
I have absolutely zero game sense and am unaware until my teammate calls out Valk's location, and luckily I'm able to flick over. Now, after securing that kill, I go into almost a confused state, unsure of what to do, wasting time. This is all time I could have spent droning, trying to gather intel for my team. While in barrels, I'm thinking of bottom arcade hall, drug, bathroom hall, and the site right next to me. I'm not just thinking of the immediate room that I'm in. With this in mind, and the info Ella gives me of her position as she attempts to wallbang me, I'm able to flick and fire through the wall at an area I know players frequent, giving me a headshot. Again, I go back to wasting time. Finally, after wasting 30 to 40 seconds, I decide to drone, except I only use my drone to bait, limiting the intel I can gather with it, and then basically throw my life away as I rush in the site.
Oh, I didn't even think to look left.
Now obviously at the moment I'm not thinking like this, but being able to go over and analyze like this helps me understand where it is I need to improve as a player. All brains have stats like our accounts, and its trackers are your IQ, intelligence quotient, EQ, emotional quotient, and lastly, possibly the most important, your AQ, adaptive quotient. IQ tests your ability to obtain and memorize data. This is important when it comes to understanding the fundamentals of the game, as it's essentially the basis with which you make your decisions. Operator knowledge, map knowledge, and even game sense fall under this category. EQ is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. Managing stress during matches, executing effective communication, and developing rapport with your teammates fall under this category. AQ, as described by Natalie Fratto in her TEDx, linked down below, is your adaptability quotient, which is how well a person reacts to the inevitability of change. It tests how well you manipulate information given a constraint in order to achieve a specific goal. Responding under pressure as a defender or trying to clutch up as an attacker are some of the things that fall under this category. These are all extremely important when it comes to being a good player at any game. Someone who excels in EQ but not IQ or AQ may be a great teammate to have around, but it might not be the best competitive play team member. Someone with high AQ and low EQ and IQ might be a pretty effective teammate but could end up being toxic or not quite versed in in-game knowledge. What's important to note about all of these is that they are not fixed statistics but rather something we can all improve upon. These will not determine how good we are, but how good we can be. But one thing they all have in common is that they all have to do with your brain. And that's bad because it completely forgets about the part that makes the big brain plays happen. Your health and body are another extremely important thing when it comes to being a good Siege player. I suffer from Erb's palsy on the left side of my body, and on the right I have chronic shoulder pain along with pain in the surrounding areas. And I can tell you that that obviously doesn't help my game. Well, no shit. But even with that, I'm still not total trash. But that's the extreme end of things, and the same stuff still applies to the average gamer, that being posture and fitness. Being fit and having good posture, as the God Ron Rainbow Kim tries to instill in us, is extremely important when it comes to having a good, consistent gameplay. When you have a good posture, you alleviate stress from areas in your spine and shoulders, which in turn allows you to both game for extended amounts of time, as well as game for a much longer amount of time in your life without wearing down joints and tissue. Getting rest is another huge factor in being good, because without proper rest, you'll be at a disadvantage and doing your overall health a disservice. In fact, rest is where the gains are made. Plenty of studies exist, of which I'll link one in the description below, that shows that muscle growth is made during sleep, and that lack of it will affect your emotional state, or EQ. All in all, if you take one thing away from this, it's that being healthy is good, and that healthy equals better gamer. Next, we have game sense, which I believe is the broadest term as it means so many things. It's your understanding of the map, its angles, and flows during different states of the game, operators, and how they interact with one another, and individual playstyles, etc. This is obtained in many ways, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Yes, you can improve your in-game sense by watching pro players and top-tier players. No, it will not benefit you as much as actually playing in-game under certain conditions. I'll explain later during the time management and mentality section. You can also improve game sense by learning from better players you are friends with, or seeking out other players trying to learn how to be better as well. Essentially, anything that you see how to or not to do correctly that you've not seen before is newly acquired knowledge, which will in turn translate to game sense. Yeah, I know this is a video game, but that doesn't mean that there isn't such thing as improperly using your time. This is a huge one that I'm still kind of suffering from today. Maybe another video on that sometime. I don't know. Probably not, since this one might never be seen. So, as I was saying, yeah, you can improperly use your time in this game, assuming your goal is to get better. If that is your goal, you should then, and only then, be spending every minute you're on the game trying to improve. An example of wasting time in the game is playing T-Hunt improperly, trying to complete it every time, or droning, or playing passively when low on HP are all time wasters. Instead, you should be spending every second in T-Hunt refining mechanics and increasing map knowledge no matter your skill level. Even to this day, I guarantee you that there are undiscovered angles that are insane. To efficiently spend your time, look for those who are trying to improve like yourself and try to learn with them. Look at videos online. You've already got that one checked, as you're obviously here already. And study the way pros and top tier players play this game. A quick disclaimer about studying pros. When G2 plays against Navi, G2 will watch all of Navi's VODs and look at all the stats of their players. With that, they then decide how to formulate a strategy. That is something that's exclusive to Pro League, and that's honestly the reason that studying pros may not always be the most efficient, since they use strats specifically made to counter one thing. Being able to do that is a luxury we do not have when playing ranked, so it's important to take that into consideration when coming up with your own strats for your team during ranked and comp play. Mechanical skill is your understanding of whatever your main method of input is, basically how good you are with a controller or mouse and keyboard. Mechanical skill also goes hand in hand with the particular game you're playing. I'll give you an example. If you took a global elite in CS and you put them in Siege, they definitely wouldn't be bad. They would be employing well executed CSGO mechanics such as strafing and Siege, but would receive a way different outcome since the mechanics are different between the two games. The best way to refine mechanical skill in games is through constantly practicing with their respective mechanics. In terms of Siege, the absolute best way to do this is T-Hunt. You'll hear probably everyone just tell you to play T-Hunt, but it really helps. In comparison, your other option is to hop straight into a casual, which wouldn't be the worst way to improve mechanical ability, but definitely isn't the most effective. In casual, you might spawn in, run around for 30 seconds to a minute, possibly get a kill, then die. That wouldn't be too far from a normal round, and that gives you no more than a minute really to practice mechanics, which takes away from your focus of the actual game. Instead, playing an hour of T-Hunt is playing an actual hour of gameplay and getting an insane amount of familiarity with the mechanics. I've known some people who love to spend hours upon hours in T-Hunt, myself included, to make themselves a better player. Learning the keyboard and mouse, how far away each letter is from one another, how much pressure it takes to actuate, the weight of your mouse, the resistance against your mouse pad, and the sensitivity you use are all part of mechanical skill. All in all, there's quite a lot that goes into making a great Siege player. More than what I've put here, but I'm not trying to have an hour-long video. But maybe a couple others that go more in-depth if this gets seen. We have game sense, analytical ability, mechanical skill, health, IQ, EQ, and lastly AQ. When you take the time to improve all of these, you'll notice that your gameplay will improve, and as weird as this may sound, so will your life. These are not just skills that are exclusive to Siege, rather you can use them in literally any video game in many aspects of life. I just use a heavy focus on Siege. I'm still practicing these myself and I'm a long way from where I want to be, but as long as you make a little bit of effort to improve each day, you'll finally reach your goal. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video today, and even more so for paying attention. Have a good rest of your day, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Probably he's deacon Dora.
Oh, no one tap, no one tap.
Friendly mission